I am an old man now. My hands tremble a little when I hold the microphone, and my voice is not as strong as it once was. But I have lived long enough to see something most people are too busy to notice. I have sat beside hospital beds. I have held the hands of friends who quietly slipped away. I have watched the strongest men I knew slowly grow smaller, softer, and silent. And if there is one thing I want to tell you today, it is this. The final year of life rarely announces itself loudly. It whispers. You will not always hear dramatic last words. You will not always see a sudden collapse. More often, the signs are subtle, almost invisible to those who are not looking closely. I learned this the hard way. Years ago, I lost my older brother. He was a proud man, the kind who built his own house and never asked for help. We thought he would live forever, but in his final year there were signs. Small changes, quiet signals. We dismissed them as just aging. We were wrong. The first sign I have seen again and again is a deep and lasting fatigue that sleep does not fix. I am not talking about ordinary tiredness. I mean a weariness that settles into the bones. My brother used to wake before sunrise, eager for the day. In his last year, he slept late. Then he napped in the afternoon. Then he stopped caring whether you woke up early at all. It was not laziness. It was as if his body was slowly powering down, conserving energy for something we did not yet understand. I have seen this same pattern in friends from my church, in neighbors and my own wife before she passed. Their world began to shrink because they no longer had the strength to engage with it. When an elderly person who once loved conversation, gardening, or walking suddenly seems exhausted by even small tasks, do not brush it off too quickly. The body knows when it is nearing the end, even if the mind refuses to admit it. The second sign is a quiet withdrawal from life. This one is easy to misunderstand. We say, he's just getting older, or she prefers to rest. But I've watched people slowly detach from the things they once cherished. My friend Samuel, who adored his grandchildren, began declining visits. Not because he didn't love them, he simply didn't have the emotional energy anymore. It was as though he was gently loosening his grip on the world. In his final months, Samuel gave away his prized books. He insisted he didn't need them. At the time, we thought he was just being generous. But now I understand. Sometimes when people sense their time is short, they begin to prepare quietly. They settle old arguments. They sort through old photographs. They speak of memories more than future plans. They speak of memories more than future plans. That brings me to the third sign, changes in appetite and weight. I remember my wife sitting at the kitchen table pushing her favorite soup around the bowl. She had always loved that recipe, but in her final year, food no longer brought her joy. It was not dieting. It was not stubbornness. Her body simply did not crave nourishment the way it once did. I have spoken to nurses who confirmed what I observed with my own eyes. In the last year of life, many elderly people begin eating less. They lose weight without trying. They say they are not hungry. Sometimes we try to persuade them, just one more bite. But we cannot force the body to want what it no longer needs in the same way. The fourth sign is increased confusion or mental changes. I do not mean ordinary forgetfulness, like misplacing keys. I mean moments when clarity fades unexpectedly. My neighbor Clara was sharp as a tack at 82. But in her final year, she began drifting in and out of focus. She would stare at the window as if seeing something far away. Sometimes she spoke of people who had long since passed. At first, her family thought it was simple aging, but there was something different about it. It was as if her mind was traveling between two worlds. One foot still here, the other testing unfamiliar ground. These changes can be frightening, but they are often part of the body's natural process of slowing down. And finally, the fifth sign, the one that still gives me chills, is a sudden sense of peace after a long struggle. I have seen it more than once. A person who has been battling illness or pain for months suddenly becomes calm. They speak clearly. They smile. They say things like, "Everything will be all right." The day before my wife passed, she squeezed my hand and thanked me for our life together. There was a clarity in her eyes I had not seen in months. For a brief moment, she seemed stronger. I thought she was improving. I allowed myself hope. She was gone the next evening. I later learned that this rally, the short return of energy, is something many families witness. It feels like a miracle. Sometimes it is. But sometimes it is the body gathering itself for a final goodbye. Now, please understand me. Not every elderly person who feels tired or eats less is in their final year. Aging is complex. Illness can be treated. Hope is real. I stand here not to frighten you, but to awaken you. Because the greatest regret I carry is not that my loved ones died. Death comes for us all. My regret is that I did not always recognize the signs, soon enough to slow down and sit beside them longer. In our modern world, we are distracted. We scroll through our phones. We chase success. We assume there will be more time. I assume there will be more time. When my brother canceled family dinners, I told myself we would reschedule. When my wife said she was too tired for our evening walks, I thought next spring would be different. Next spring never came. If you notice these subtle warnings, the deep fatigue, the withdrawal, the loss of appetite, the drifting mind, the sudden peaceful clarity, do not panic, but do not ignore them either. Lean in closer, ask gentle questions, spend the extra hour. Listen to the stories you've heard 100 times as if they are brand new. In the final year of life, what people crave most is not medicine or advice. It is presence. I have learned that when someone nears the end, they begin measuring life differently. They do not speak of achievements. They speak of moments. They remember laughter around the dinner table. They remember holding a newborn child. They remember forgiveness given and received. And here is something else I have learned, something beautiful. The final year, though fragile, can also be sacred. There is honesty in it. Walls come down, pride softens, love becomes simple and direct. I remember sitting beside my wife on our porch during her last autumn. The leaves were falling. She rested her head on my shoulder and said, "We had a good run, didn't we?" I nodded, unable to speak. In that moment, there was no fear, only gratitude. So if you suspect someone you love may be entering that final chapter, do not turn away. Do not drown yourself in denial. Instead, offer them your time, your patience, your hand. Ask them about their childhood. Ask them about their childhood. Ask them about their first love. Ask them what they are most proud of. You may think you already know their stories. I promise you, there are chapters you have never heard. And if you are the elderly one listening to me now, if you feel these changes in your own body, know this, your life still matters deeply. Your presence still shapes the hearts of those around you. Speak your wisdom. Share your memories. Let your loved ones learn from your journey. I stand before you as a man who has walked through loss more than once. I cannot stop time. I cannot erase grief. But I can tell you this. When you recognize the subtle warnings and choose to respond with love instead of avoidance, the final year becomes less about fear and more about connection. One day it will be my turn. Perhaps some of these signs will appear in me. I hope that when they do, someone will notice not with panic, but with compassion. I hope someone will sit beside me and listen, even if my stories wander. Life does not usually end with a thunderclap. It fades like the setting sun, slowly, gently, painting the sky with quiet color. If you are paying attention, you can see the light changing. Do not ignore that light, because in those final months, sometimes in that final year, there is an opportunity to say what must be said, to forgive what must be forgiven, to love without holding back. And that, my friends, is a gift